I'm so excited about today's guests because they are bringing something truly special to the show. And yes, you heard that right. I have not one, but both of the incredible women behind the Grieving Sisters podcast here with me today. And they are proof that purpose can rise out of the deepest pain imaginable. Jessica and Liz are two childhood friends who have both experienced one of the most devastating losses a person can go through, the loss of a younger sibling. And instead of letting that grief have the last word, they turned it into something meaningful. They built a community where people navigating grief don't have to feel so alone. And today, they're going to share their experiences navigating grief, how you keep showing up while carrying loss, and what it looks like to turn that pain into purpose. Jessica, Liz, I'm so excited to have both of you here, and welcome to Highlight Your Healing.
What an introduction. I love this.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. What an intro.
I know. I love it. I'm like, damn, it's better than ours. What are we doing? We love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for having us.
Yes, just so excited to have both of you here. Definitely a big fan of the Grieving Sisters podcast. So super excited to have you here just to talk to my listeners here on Highlight Your Healing. But before we get into today's conversation, I would just love for each of you to introduce yourselves in your own words and just tell us a little about who you are.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Okay,
you go
great.
You go first.
So my name is Elizabeth. I am a mom of 2 teens and I guess a dog mom as well. I don't know why he's all over me today. Like he hasn't came near me until I got on the phone.
Sounds like my toddler.
Right. There you go.
We love fur babies.
Now that my kids grew up, now my dog has to be all over me. So, I can talk a little bit about my experience with grief and how me and Jessica have been friends since we were maybe 8 years old, 3rd grade, 4th grade, maybe. Is it 3rd grade, Jess?
I think that's when I moved to Lincoln. I moved to Lincoln in the middle of 3rd.
Grade.
Yeah.
So we became good friends and we always had our younger siblings around. They were always around us. We
weren't allowed to go out without them.
It was like, if we wanted to go out, you have to take your younger siblings with you.
Yes.
And, they were always tagging along and they were really special and important people in our lives. And Jessica will talk more about her own personal experience, but Jessica lost her younger brother. And then about 6 years later, I lost my younger sister in a car accident. And it was just 1 minute to the next and you're grasping at straws at like, how do I deal with this? How is sibling grief recognized? It's a lot of your poor mother, your poor father. Oh no, did she have kids? It's like everybody else is considered and the siblings is sort of lost. It's kind of lost on people that, we really need support. And aside from that, the siblings are really the ones who are kind of like buckling down and getting things done because we feel for our parents and we don't want to put that on our parents. So Jessica was just, it was like a breath of fresh air, even though it was such a tragedy. I was like, I'm going to the funeral home. I'm doing this. I'm picking out a casket. And she was like, yep. And it was like, afterwards, we chatted and we just couldn't believe that this happened.
Right.
We couldn't believe that it happened to them. We couldn't believe that this is where we were in our life. And, she had been writing this podcast for a long time and, very kindly and softly approached me and said, I don't know if you're ready for this, but if you are, like, we can do this. And honestly, for me, it's been such an amazing way to grieve. Because I'm grieving out loud. It's the only time that I'm not masking. I'm masking every other part of my life. When I'm at work, when I'm with kids, when I'm in the grocery store, I can't talk about my sister everywhere I go, even though I do often. I've been able to grieve out loud. I've been able to grieve with a really great friend and a wonderful support system. And I've been able to really meet so many people in the community that just said, oh my goodness, I thought we were forgotten about. Like, thank you so much for having this community for us. So that's kind of my story, how it came about, who I am. And Jess, I'll leave it to you.
So my name is Jessica Connolly, and I am also a mother to a toddler that is definitely a three-nager. And I was working as a school counselor where I graduated from, and a lot of people knew my brother, and they knew my family, they knew my sister, and then changed it up once. Once I had my daughter, I started my own private practice as a licensed professional counselor so I can spend more time with my daughter. So my brother has now passed 7 years, but what really triggered it was that my dad had passed on 11/11/2024, and then Liz's sister passed 2 days later. So I was like in the middle of doing all this for my dad while she was in the midst of doing everything else. And plus, like, Liz had, like, they had to transfer the bodies up, so, bring it up to Jersey. And it's not just Liz's sister, it was also the brother-in-law. So it's like they just were dealing with extra layers of stuff, especially because they were military as well. So I knew exactly what Liz was going through. And I was just like, I was on a family vacation. I think my daughter was turning 2. And I was just like, I said to my husband, I was like, I really had this idea for a podcast. I don't know if I'm ready for it. I don't know if Liz is ready. He was like, well, you could just ask. He was like, especially if you guys have so many years under your belt. She's not. He was like, I'm sure you've probably said some more other outlandish stuff to her. So I was like, you don't know half the things we talked about growing up, but he was just like, just approach her on it. And she wants to do it, she'll do it. And pretty much here we are. When it comes to grief, and it has just been blowing up, and just very grateful for the community. Don't know the direction. We were talking about getting together and what direction do we want to go in, because we do want to keep it as, with sibling grief and sibling loss, only because we are the forgotten ones, unfortunately.
Right, absolutely. And I'm so glad you touched on that. And thank you both, Liz and Jessica, for sharing your story
Thank you.
about your sister and your brother. And I'm sorry for your losses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you mentioned, sibling loss isn't talked about as much as other types of grief. Why do you think that it can sometimes feel overlooked or even misunderstood, and why it's not a loss that most people recognize?
I think that I think it's about the understanding of relationships. And I think that it's very easy to know the mother-child relationship. Comes out of your body, you love that baby. You know, People understand spouses,
Right.
spouse bereavement, because that's the family you choose. You chose this person, you dedicated your life to this person. I think when it comes to siblings, sometimes you have one, sometimes you have five, sometimes you have three, sometimes you're not close to them, sometimes you are.
Mhm.
So I think that it's usually a really big question. It's a big question mark when somebody loses a sibling, because the first thing they say is, were you close?
They're trying to gauge it. Yeah. They
Right,
try to
right.
gauge your closeness. And then they try to be like, oh, well, oh, you have another sibling. So, or be strong for your parents.
Mm.
Come on. What do you mean? What about me?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So just kind of getting into that, did you ever feel like maybe the role in your family changed after your sibling passed?
Yeah. I'm a caretaker.
Yeah.
Caretaker.
Hmm.
Yeah. For me, I definitely feel like almost like I'm responsible for my parents' happiness in a way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which it feels like a lot of pressure, even though that it's interesting because I feel like they feel the same way. I
Right.
feel like they're like, we only have one daughter. We have like one kid now. We have to do everything. I know my dad tells my mom, You've got to take care of her. You've got to take care of her." My mom's in Jersey, my dad's in Florida. So I know that they're worried about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting story. When my sister was in high school, she blew out her knee. They were
Hmm.
at her game. I was working. They took her to the hospital. She got whatever. Nobody was answering the phone. Somebody called and said, "Oh, hi, I just wanted to check on Natalie since she got injured at the game." And I said, "What?" And they weren't telling me because they know that I'm so protective, and I love my sister so much that I would have been like crying. And I remember I saw them park and I went to open the door, and there's my sister in crutches and my parents. And I opened the door and I started crying, and my mom and my dad were like, "You see?" Like, you see?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that they feel like it's that situation on a million where it's
Right.
like, she's so fragile. You have to be so careful. But yeah, I do feel a little bit like I feel bad that they have to worry about me so much because
Mm,
they know how it's affected me. But I tell my mom, I said, some days I'm sad for myself and some days I'm heartbroken for the both of you.
right.
'Cause
Right.
you
Yeah.
just you as a and like, Jess, you can probably attest to it, like, you wanna take the brunt of it. Like, you
Right.
wanna take all the
And
pain,
that's what
like,
I
when
did, honestly. Like for my brother, like I can be honest with you, I had to go. We were celebrating my dad's 70th birthday, and I get the text message. Well, it was like Instagram. His girlfriend at the time was like, "Hey, he's in St. Joe's. They're not releasing information." I said, "What?" I said, "Oh, he's in St. Joe's. He probably popped his shoulder out. He always pops his shoulder out and ends up in the hospital, whatever." She's like, "No,
Mhm.
no, no. This is serious. He's not. They're not releasing information." I said, "Usually when they're not releasing information, he's dead." So
Mm.
I like kind of said to my husband, I was like, "Hey, we got to go." We end up going. I had to confirm the body. I paid for the funeral. My parents, my mom had no money. I mean, we had someone um that we grew up with that they're pretty successful, and I'll keep it at that. I don't want to throw any names out. And they called me and they were like, my son will pay for the whole entire funeral. I said, "Don't worry, like I closed my 401k, like I'm gonna pay for the whole entire funeral." Had to pick out his clothes, had to, deal with everything with the funeral parlor, with the crematory, get the urn. I mean, when I had to tell people, I had to go. My dad at the time is living. I had to go to the assistant living and tell him face to face. Now I just left him the day before, right? We were celebrating his birthday, and he's kind of like,
birthday.
"Well, why
Mhm.
why are you here?" And he's blind, so he's like, "Well, why are you here again? Like, what's going on?" And had to explain to him, at the hospital, I'm calling my mom. We weren't talking. We weren't on good terms. She had me blocked, so I had to keep calling from the hospital phone. And she's like, "Samantha." I said, "No, Jessica." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Shawnee's dead." And she was like, "What?" Like, and she hung up on me. And I was just like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" So when she came, literally, she was in Florida at the time. She flew up and literally was able to grieve her son. She tried to jump in the cat, that's her baby boy. That was the youngest boy and her only boy. And um, basically, the next day we had to go, cremate him. And then the next day we went to his house, his apartment, emptied everything out, literally all in one day. Um, had to take care of, figure out what to do with his dog. The dog was in the dog shelter. Had to go bring it to his other ex-girlfriend. That's a whole other story. Um, and and yeah, like so. Then I became their caretaker. Like my mom will text me randomly, still to this day, like, "Oh, I'm thinking about Shawnee. I miss him so much," and like be hysterically crying. And I'm just kind of like, "Hey girl, like I'm with my kid right now at the park. I can't deal with this right now." Like, but
Mhm.
I've now become her there. And then like after my dad passed, like it's even more because I've been taking care of so it just becomes like you just get into that survival mode and just become their caretaker at this point. And, just try to help them as much as you can while trying to grieve and balance your whole life too.
Especially when your sibling loss is traumatic.
Yes.
Is like 1 minute to the next. There is no time to even think or
No.
plan or anything. When you think about your grandparents or, as your parents get older, you start to think, maybe you have some conversations. Where would you like to be buried? Do let's start making a will. When these are your younger
Mhm.
siblings,
They're like,
it's
what?
like, we were like, "Oh, wait a minute, what does she want?" I
Right.
mean, she died with her husband. I knew that they wanted to be buried together. That's all I knew.
Right.
We
You're lucky
didn't
you even
know
had
what
that.
else to do. Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't know what else to do. So it's
I didn't
like,
know my brother what I mean, he was 29. Who the hell thinks
yeah,
about
Mhm.
that?
they're young. We never think about it. And then even all the things that just rattled off, it's things that you don't even think about. Their
Mhm.
belongings, their estate, what to do with their pets, picking out their clothes. I would never ever let my mom think about what she would dress her baby girl in
Right?
Right.
to be put in the
Right.
ground.
Right.
I would never. Not that it's easy for us to do.
But
Mhm.
we had to man up. Like, I
But you
mean, call
have
it that.
to.
You had no choice. We had to put
Yeah.
well, somebody had to take control, and we knew it wasn't going to be them, right? Like, they
Right.
birthed,
Right.
just kind of like what you said, they birthed these humans.
Right.
And it's like the least that we can do is have that compassion. Like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And
Yeah.
we're the oldest siblings too, so we're like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll take care of it. We have it under control, but we don't have it. We didn't, you know.
And I
Yeah.
think growing up as siblings, it's always like if your mom isn't home, your older
You're
Your
sibling's
the
in
sisters.
charge.
That's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we've
Yeah.
always been the ones in charge with them. We knew if one of them fell, we needed to clean up their knees and get a band-aid on because we
That's
can't
it.
bring them home
The
bloody.
pseudo
Because
mom.
now you're getting in
Pseudo
trouble
mom.
too because
That's
you
right.
let it happen.
That's right.
Where were
Pseudo
you?
mom.
Where were
Yep.
you?
Right. As both of you are talking, I am an older sibling. I have one brother. He's younger, 4 years younger than I am. And right now, as you're talking, don't talk about it much or haven't really said it out loud, but, he's making some not so good life choices right now. And
Mm.
it's almost like that anticipatory
Potato
grief
grief. Yep.
Yeah.
that
You're
I'm
waiting for that
dealing
shoe to
with.
drop. Yep. You're
Yeah.
waiting for that dreaded phone call, unfortunately.
Right, right. So as you all are
Mm.
talking about the things that you've helped your parents, you picked up the slack and you're doing, I find myself doing those things and my brother is here. And it's like,
Right.
just, and I hate to say it that way, but getting myself prepared for, unfortunately, for
That
that
call.
moment. Yeah.
Right. Sadly.
Um, so
Mm.
grief, has a way of touching everything, right? Our relationships, your identity, your routines. What did navigating it day to day look like in those earlier days of grief for the both of you?
Oof. Oof. I mean, for me, I can say for me, I was just like, I want to go to therapy. I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink. I know I'm going to drink. I don't want to drink. I know it's not going to solve anything. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
smoke. I smoked when I was in college, like had my cigarettes and coffee to stay up all night and study for test. Um, and I was like, I know it, my unhealthy coping. I need therapy. I need therapy. Found a therapist. She was more of a friend. And I was like, nah, I really need to do the work. In the midst of that, I was still in my, still working out, but I went to the point that I was like, you know what? I need to go harder. And one of my closest, bestest friends, actually her birthday's coming up. It's actually tomorrow. She reads blood. So she was like, let's get your blood work done. Let's see what's going on. She did a full panel, not the ones that the doctors asked for. There's two different types.
Mm-hmm.
And the full panel that they ran they were able to see that my cortisol was so high that it depleted my DHEA. Like, it was so bad that, like, I just couldn't lose anything. But I have to say, during that time when I had came back from Ghana, which I'll throw that in there, what a significant uh, part of my healing journey. I'll finish off with this first, that I was in the best shape of my life. Once I came back from Ghana, I was working out with her 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 days a week. We were just working out. We had a whole group session and we would just continue to do that. Before my brother passed, we had booked Dominican Republic and we had booked Ghana. Dominican Republic was my husband's dad's 20th year anniversary passing. So we went, put flowers and had to do what we had to do. I felt so totally out of whack being there. And then we went to Ghana. I was meeting my brother for the first time on my dad's side. So my dad was married before my mom, before coming to the States, and so I lost a brother, gained a brother. I mean, I've always spoken to him, but this is the first time we're meeting face to face. I got to meet other aunts and other cousins and just a lot of history. And then, I mean, can we throw some more grief on it? That, like, I even went to the slave castles. I went to 3 slave castles. I mean, when I tell you, like, if you want to talk about a roller coaster, that whole trip, and it was like a 12-day roller coaster. If you haven't been to a country in Africa, you must do it. You have not traveled anywhere if you have not. And I say that specifically because it was just very profounding. But this is all in February, March, April, May, June, July, in 5 months. Like, this was all going on. And a lot of friendships were falling off. People really wanted, and I think Liz can attest to this too, that, like, so many people just wanted us to still be the same us. Let's go party, let's drink. So then that's when I started to get lured in. oh, let's go for drinks. Let's go for drinks. And I'm like, okay, like whatever, let's do it. And then I just found myself, I think it was that December, that's when I found my true therapist and pseudo mom. And she was just like, nah, this grief, this death is an awakening and it's going to kick up a lot of dust and it's time to really work on some good stuff. So during that time, the self-care was just all about hitting that gym, trying not to drink. And if I was like to the very limit, but just food intake, breath work. That's when I started doing breath work with Miguel. I mean, every chance I get to mention this man, people probably think that like we're together, but no, we're not. We're like soul brothers and sisters. Like it's like we were definitely like family in past life. Like because we're just, he was just starting his breathwork school, and like we were outside, and this was like in October of 2019, and I remember, and I was like, hey. I was like, are you going to start this business or what? He was like, I just signed up for the school. So it was just like really, again, goes back into the alignment part. So like really working on regulating my nervous system, regulating my emotion, right? Not being so reactive, because not that I ever took out my anger on anyone in specific, but I could go 0 to 100 real quick, but that's a lot of things that you also work through with therapy. Yeah.
I think for me, it's interesting how Jess brought up the physical part because it's almost immediate.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost immediate. So I like from crying and like locking my jaw, and when you
Mm-hmm.
cry, you're kind of like biting down.
Right.
I like destroyed some dental work. This was before I
Uh-huh.
could even bury her. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was happening. My iron was very low. I'm anemic. I wasn't taking care of myself. I definitely was drinking. I would say what helped me the most in those early days was like I couldn't even listen to music. It would just sound like noise, even worship music. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm heavy into worship music. It's all I really play in the house. And I couldn't listen to any music because it just sounded like noise. But
Mm-hmm.
the sound of water was okay. So I would just take tons of baths and I would watch shows with animals, just animals. And I've talked to other grievers who said there's something about just watching animal shows that
Mm-hmm.
kind of takes your mind to another place.
Right.
Also, it's like death is such a part of life when you watch animal shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a circle of life. Every
Yep.
animal's hunting another animal. And it almost makes you kind of understand that this is not something that is so specific to you. Like,
Right.
this is always happening. I also had I had one trip planned to Puerto Rico, which I really needed because I think the water and the ocean really helped.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the time of my sister and brother-in-law's death, my brother-in-law has a son from a previous marriage who has cerebral palsy. He has some developmental delays. He's about 30, but in his mind, he's probably around 12.
Mm-hmm.
They had bought him tickets and they were all going to see Mariah Carey in concert in Vegas. And when we went down to the house to start making arrangements, he was there and he was like, I still want to go to Mariah Carey. And I was like, oh, we're going. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, we're going. And all of the siblings went. All of his
Mm-hmm.
siblings. I'm her only sibling. I brought my aunt and my cousin, and we all went. We got t-shirts made that had a heart and both of them in there, and we went to the concert. And it was such a like it was such a healing thing. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
all sobbed throughout the whole concert,
Yeah.
but it really was a lesson in grieving out loud, grieving in community. We all shared meals and, even though we stayed in different hotels, we still had that sort of community. And then I traveled with just one friend. I just took one friend. We went to Puerto Rico and I would kind of go missing sometimes during the
Mm-hmm.
trip, and I'd go to the beach and I would cry and kind of let it out and wrote their names in the sand and just try to do whatever I can to stay sane.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely mental health. I was on medication for anxiety as it was. I had to up that immediately, especially because my sister and my brother-in-law died in a traffic accident. My fear of driving was
Mm-hmm.
unreal. And I had an hour commute for work. So that's definitely what I would say. in terms for any of your listeners who are like, how the hell do I get through that first? Granted, you know, I had the benefit of being able to travel, so did Jessica. We're not saying
Right.
like hop on a flight and get out of here, because you can also use it to run from your problems.
Right.
But I
Well,
think
we
if you
already had
can
it. Like, it's like they already had it.
right.
Like,
But
we
I
had it
do think if
done.
you can change your
Yes.
scenery.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Even if it's just going like an hour away, change your scenery the minute that you feel okay in your body to
Mm.
Mhm.
change your scenery. And do whatever makes you physically feel better, be it baths, be it working out,
Yeah.
be it I can have a real problem with food when it comes to like being stressed, the
Mhm.
overeating, the lack of eating. There are days where I wasn't eating and people were like, "Have you eaten today?" And you're like, you have to have a reminder. So
Hmm.
sometimes setting reminders on your phone to making sure you take medication, you have food, you drank water. I mean, there were days where I wasn't showering, I wasn't brushing my teeth,
Mhm.
I wasn't washing my hair. And Jess knows, me and my mom started being like accountability partners in bathing and washing our hair.
Right.
We would
Mhm.
say like, I was able to take a shower today, and we would like
Right.
be like, I'm proud of you. And then we'd be like, how many days since you washed your hair? Like, okay, today I'm going to wash my hair. And we would check in with each other and say and see like, did you
Hmm.
get to wash your hair today? Because we knew that the minute we took a shower and or washed our hair, we were going to physically feel better, and that'll
Right.
help improve your mood. A lot of
Mhm.
times when somebody is depressed or grieving, the first thing that goes is self-care.
Right.
I thought all my teeth were gonna
Yes.
fall out because I couldn't even get up to like brush my teeth. And
Mhm.
I had to like tell myself, like, okay, I have to brush my teeth. I have to brush my teeth. I have to take a shower. It's interesting, and I've thought about posting it. I have a video of my room 1 year ago today.
Mm.
Mm.
It looks like an episode of Hoarders.
Mm.
So
Wow.
even the other day, I was watching a video, like, those your phone will pop up like 1 year ago. And I was like, oh my God. Like, just the shape. Like, it's
Right.
like you look into somebody's minds, like, that's what grief looks like, you know?
Yeah.
It's just a messy, messy mess. And now I'm like, wow, I can see the rug in my room, and I may have some laundry there, but I do have clean sheets. I do have clean clothes. So I think just be kind with yourself. Like, I can look back at that
Have
photo
Mhm.
grace.
now or that video now and say, and I don't know what possessed me to take a video of the room. I think I just couldn't believe that I was like living like that, you
Hmm.
know?
Mhm.
But
But in the
yeah,
moment, you
that's
don't realize it. Was that triggering seeing the picture pop up and
it
kind of
was like
taking you back
never
to that?
for me, it was like never let it get
Get
that
that
bad
bad. Yeah.
again.
Right. Yeah.
Like never let it get that bad
But I
again.
also
And like,
feel like there's nothing in this world that's going to, and maybe because we have kids, like I feel like even our kids, God forbid if anything ever happened to them, I feel like nothing will ever rock our world the
yeah,
way that loss was with our siblings.
because
Because it
Right.
was tragic.
it's true. It's true because I think it also has had us prepare.
Right.
Like, I
Hmm.
think we are forever changed in that way that, like, life is so fragile. Don't
Mhm.
ever
Yep.
think you're gonna have your kids, your siblings, your parents, and this is part of what we learned in community. We've spoken to a woman with 3 kids whose husband committed suicide. He was a successful, surgeon. You can never tell,
You never
We
know.
had someone
Right.
whose brother was an addict. He was clean. He was clean. He was the perfect role model of getting clean and turning your life
Right.
around. And
Yep.
his
Mhm.
brother just couldn't do it.
Hmm.
So it's like, you never know. We've had people who've lost parents and siblings, simultaneously within a couple months.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like nothing is sacred anymore. It's like
No,
Right.
no one is untouchable,
that's
and
right.
these things can happen. And I
Like
think we
anything.
are forever prepared now. We're prepared for the
Right.
worst.
Right.
Yeah, we really are. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with the pod. Like, not to be morbid, but you do have to prepare for the worst,
Right.
because
Mhm.
when, not if, but when it
Hmm.
When.
happens, you're going to be able to handle it.
Much better.
Right.
Like
You
you'll
know?
have like you'll know the healthy coping mechanisms. You'll know the
Yeah.
healthy tools versus, well, let's go to drink, drug, and party and just, some people turn to sex, some people, other addictions, gambling. Like negative ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
To run to. And it's very true. Like, we've listened to so many stories, having our guests, and even just our stories within each other, personally, that we know other people that they haven't been on our show. And it's kind of like, holy moly, like, we are here 1 minute and gone the next. And we don't we don't realize how precious life is. And, it kind of goes into a little bit of one of the episodes that we did, that I spoke about when my grandfather had passed away. I was only 5 years old. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything. What does that mean? I'm five, right? And I remember very distinctly, I'm just like, well, pop-ups in heaven. Like, and I see, like, my mom going crazy. We also have a family thing. We have a family thing that people like to fight over money over caskets. So that's like the Italians, the Irish side, they're fighting over money. The Irish side, they're all going crazy over there. And, um, I was just like, I didn't understand what was going on. I said, but is this something that we've learned to be accustomed to when it's death, instead of celebrating death? So that's where I
Right.
kind of am in my, because again, right, Liz is really, like, really fresh and new.
Yeah.
I'm very seasoned, especially when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to this. And, I've done a lot of work, and still, it's still work. I'm still hearing new things. I'm still, like Liz and I will be like, what? Like, both of us still, like, in shock. But it's like,
Right.
sometimes we have accustomed to a society that we have to cry, like, it needs to be this negative thing. But I think that when it's tragic, it is negative,
Mm-hmm.
not the circle of
Yes.
life.
Right. Yeah. So, Jessica, just to kind of continue on with that conversation. So, you mentioned shifting the perspective on death, not just seeing it as something heavy, but something
Hmm.
that can also be honored and even celebrated. So, can you just kind of walk us through that a little more? What that looks
Sure.
like.
Sure. So actually, when my brother passed, it was more of a spiritual thing. It was an awakening overall, right? But it was also spiritual. Like, yes, I do believe in God. I believe in a higher power, right? And I respect everyone. Like, and I'm always very curious. I always ask the curious questions. I mean, from Yarua to Ifa to Santeria to Christian to Catholic, what denomination, this, that, and the other. I ask all the questions. And, and I always been fascinated by all of it. And, when I was just like, wow, like, I why? Like, why? Now I want to get to the root of why. And who is this God? And who is this higher power that you speak of, that you were able to sit there and take a 29-year-old man's life, that he didn't even have a family. He didn't have, he didn't even he didn't have a chance at life yet. And in my finding, unfortunately, right, 2019, now we hit 2020, COVID, boom, we get
Mm-hmm.
shut down. And, I'm there just researching and just asking those questions and really diving deep. And what opened my eyes was actually, fast forward to us doing me and Liz, when we were researching, like, we really put in the work. Like, we really research things and really look into the topics that we bring up. And there was one video, Liz, was it Mexico? Was it Peru? Was it that they, like, honor not the Dia de Muerto, not the Day of the Dead?
Right.
It was something else. And California does this now too, with their, like, seed potting, and, like, you can take them and bury them,
Oh
like, into a
yeah.
tree, or
Into a
Oh, I've
tree.
heard of that.
you
Yeah.
can use, like, I've been trying to get them on. It's very, very hard to get them on, only because of their time difference. But with that being said, you know, eventually we're all gonna go, right? And
Right.
I hate to say it so broad and so frank, right? But I think that understanding that just because they're not here in a physical form, and this is where the spirituality comes in, right? Because it's not tangible, it's not something that you can see, it's not something that you can smell, but their energy still lives on. Energy doesn't die. It
Mm-hmm.
is just their physical form that is not here. You can always pray to them. You can always do your affirmations. You can always talk to them. There's always signs. We've talked about signs. We had an episode about signs. I still see signs from dreams
Mm-hmm.
and I write them down. Like, I'm always writing. And it was one of the things, actually, one of the dreams that I had with my brother, and it took almost a year for him to come through. He was like,
Mhm.
you have to write down your dreams. Make sure you write them down. So anytime that I remember, I'm like, oh, let me write this down. And it could be 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting there on my phone, like trying to cover the light because like, I'm like, how am I going to turn on the light? Like my husband's sleeping. He has to go to work. Like I can't sit there and write it. So it's like, unfortunately, the phone
Mhm.
becomes your life. But, um, really celebrating the time that we had with them. And I think, Liz, you've talked about that too. Like,
Right.
I think Roseanne also was really, she shed that light. Roseanne is actually my husband's cousin, who's really more my
Mhm.
cousin. And she's fabulous. She had compound grief. Her brother died
Mm.
at 45 years old of a heart attack. And his dad died almost a year to date. So
Wow.
like, so it's like he did the year, but he couldn't even go for the year kind of not
Mhm.
celebration, I guess you want to call it year ceremony because he was on a ventilator, the father.
Mhm.
So with that being said, I was trying to remember where I was going with this. Oh, she was saying, like, I'm not going to sit there and dwell on, well, he's not here to celebrate and be around us, but I'm so grateful to have him for the 45 years that I did have him. And it's kind of the same here. Like, I'm very grateful for the 29 years, the memories and so much fun and just really changing the perspective, right? Instead of
Mhm.
being negative, you have to change the perspective.
But I did want to talk a little bit about, honoring them and keeping me and Jess are big believers in keeping their relationship going. That just because they're not here in the physical doesn't mean you can't share things with them or say
Right.
things or, think of them. I think for
Mhm.
me also, my sister was in the military. She was in the Navy. She was a lieutenant commander and she was also a doctor. So she
Mhm.
has this group of like doctor friends, people she went to med school with that are very
Mhm.
close. Like the way, shout out to Temple University, the way they showed up and the way that even her grammar school community, her medical community, her Navy community. I've tried to stay in touch with all of them. Like if it has
Mhm.
to do with military stuff, I'll stay in touch with them. Doctor community, I'll try and stay. And as I do that, I'll learn more and more things about them. I was not deployed with my sister. I don't know what it was like on a aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean. There were
Mhm.
definitely some jokes. There were definitely some stories. There were definitely some things. And I'm learning about them little by little as we go, as I stay connected to
Yep.
these people. People who she did medical labs with. We talked about like a funny mug. I found a funny mug and I posted it on my Instagram and somebody commented, "Oh my God, she had that mug every day in labs and we made us laugh every single time." Because it says like, are you a scientist? And the check was like, yes, no. And the last one was, bitch, I might be.
Yeah,
And it was like
yeah.
so her. It was so her, It was so her to be like in medical, like doing her residency with like a mug with a cuss word on it. Like
Mm.
it was so Jersey. It was so her. It was so funny. Um, but yeah, I think staying connected to her
Mhm.
friends is what makes me sort of feel, and I know some of them are afraid to talk to me or have taken
Mhm.
months to say, "Hey, I didn't know what to say to you, how to talk to you, but like God, she loved you so much, or
Yeah.
this funny thing came up or." So I think for me it's like maintaining this, we don't have to say this person is a friend of my sister, or for them, this person is a sister of my friend, and us not continue the conversation and keep her
Right.
name alive and laugh about
Mhm.
things and things like
Mhm.
that. She died right before the holiday and it was like a mess and a nightmare. So we didn't really celebrate, but this
Mhm.
Christmas was really our first Christmas without her. And I told everybody to bring an ornament that reminded them of her. And don't tell me what it
Mhm.
is. And it could make no sense to me, but then like tell us. And it was like, something from the last movie we all watched together, or,
Mm.
a piano because she played piano. And it was really nice. And I want to continue that every year just because I always do like a theme with my Christmas trees, like it's a certain color, but then all the life that's in the Christmas tree is all dedicated to her in that way.
Yeah. What do you hope people take away from your journey?
That it doesn't end, right? Like you can still find the joy in grief. And, life doesn't have to stop. You still have a life to live. You still have a purpose to fulfill, right? We are all here for a reason. We are all here to whether you're going to help someone else, you're going to use, and we hope that people use even our pod, again, like we try to make it as educational as possible so that we're
Mhm.
like, even when we're interviewing guests, we're just like, okay, but what do you want to say your story, but first of all, have you even seen any of our videos? Second of all, like, what are you bringing to our guest that is grieving? Because we want to show them that you can find the strength, and you have the strength within you. It's just how to do it and
Mhm.
find it in the community. Because, you know, for me, mine was 7 years ago. There was none of this.
At all. Yeah, you're
At
right.
all, at all. I mean, I feel that, COVID was a gift and a curse.
Mhm.
I low key wish that we had another lockdown, but that's just to slow
I
things
don't know.
down.
Listen, the way this
I know
world
I don't
going
want
right now,
outside.
we
I know
just
you never
might.
know, right? At this point. But I mean, I don't want outside to be closed, but
Right.
just to slow down, because I just feel like, and especially being, Liz and I, we always talk about being in the tri-state area. We are on a hamster wheel. We never take the time to really sit in our emotions, and
Mhm.
especially grief. And we're trying to rush it. We're trying to rush our grief. Do not rush it. And guess what? You could work it away. You could drink it
Yep.
away. You could sex it away. You could do whatever you
Mhm.
want away. It will
It's
wait for
still
you.
there.
It's
Yep.
going to catch up to you one
Yep.
way or
A
another.
functional griever. You're
Yes.
busy and doing all the things, but like you said, it
All
will
the
wait
things.
and wait, and it will smack you so hard.
It's
You're
going to
like,
humble you. It will humble you.
yes.
But also remember, you can also take this as this is a rebirth for yourself, right? Now
Right.
you're rebirth. Now you're, kind of recognizing, and that's the thing that, I discussed in another interview, how, and one of our episodes too, like it really kicks up the dust on
Mhm.
childhood traumas and other things that you need to work on. And let's just say you didn't even have childhood traumas. Let's just say like you're a people pleaser, or you just lack boundaries, or you lack tact, or you lacked something, and just and strength. And this is what you're using to strengthen this. Like, okay, well, my
Right.
sibling didn't tolerate this. So you know what? I'm going to take on that personality in the sense of I'm not going to tolerate this. So I
Yeah.
feel that I hope people are able to take some time out and just really sit with the grief, feel the feels, let it out
Mhm.
in a healthy manner. If you need to talk to somebody, you can actually go on, and I'm going to shout out the Grief Hub. We actually interviewed Nalda, and she lost her son to suicide, and she has like all resources, all community, whoever wants to reach out, and it's like all over the world,
Mhm.
which is really fascinating. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Jessica and Liz, thank you so much for
You're
sharing
so
both of your lived
welcome.
experience and the work that you're both doing to support others navigating grief. Because it's one thing to walk through something that changes your life, but it's another to come out on the other side and help other people navigating it too.
Yeah.
So
Thank you
before
so
we
much.
close, can you share with our listeners where they can connect with you and learn more about the amazing work you're doing with the Grieving Sisters podcast?
So you can find us. We are on Instagram and TikTok, The Grieving Sisters, and we are streaming on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You can check us out. We're also on Threads. Please don't sleep on Threads, because that's how we met.
Yes,
Don't sleep
don't
on
sleep on
Threads.
Threads.
I really think it's really for us, but that
So far, I've
I
been
will.
loving Threads.
Yes, I will not delete that app. And I think every time I see something really ridiculous, I said, and this is the reason why I'm not deleting it. But yes, and I think we're friendly. I think that, we welcome everyone like open arms, and, just we have some other great episodes in stored, and, we're working on some few more other things, and hopefully, we'll see where this goes.
I love it. Thank you so much. And if you want to connect with Jessica and Liz and the Grieving Sisters podcast, all of their information will be in the show notes. Please go show them some love and support all of the great work that they're doing. And if this episode resonated with you, do me a favor, share it, send it to a friend, a family member, somebody in your circle who needs to hear that healing and purpose are still possible for them. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, because trust me, we have more incredible guests and conversations coming your way. And if you haven't already, like and leave us a review. It helps more women find this show and join this community. And until next time, keep highlighting your healing.